per second.
Podcast. This week's clips were from shows when laughter was in the air and we were still allowed to go out. Coming up, Neil Young takes a stance, what you should not do on your computer and your phone, and a woman counts her animals and gets it wrong. But first, you've heard of sleepwalking, but have you heard of sleep drinking?
Hi, honey. How are you?
I'm super, thanks for asking. Here's a call in Tulse Hill. Hello, Dee.
Oh, hello there.
Dee, hello there.
Excuse me. Yeah, hi. How you doing?
I'm great, mate.
Good. Now, I just need to tell you about what happened to me last night.
Yes.
Yes, I'd been listening to your program, and at some point, obviously, it was getting very late, and I fell asleep. Before
Thanks.
I fell asleep. No, because your program was great.
Of course.
I fell asleep, Anyway, I had a bottle of lemonade next to me.
Mm-hmm. Vodka, you mean?
Thought, should I have this? Should I have a sip?
Do you mean vodka?
No.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
Lemonade. Gin.
Just lemonade.
Absinthe.
What's that?
What's that? It's what Parisian artistes used to drink, and it made them go a little bit.
Oh, I see. I'll try it then. Okay.
Anyway. I can do with a couple of pints of absinthe right now, as a matter of fact. What do you reckon, Carol?
Booze.
Mm-hmm.
After this, you might. Anyway, I thought, no, I won't have any. It might send my blood sugar up, so I left it there. And at some point in the middle of the night, I turned, as one does,
Yeah.
and I suddenly felt some cold, I thought it was water, cold water, as I thought, all down my back, my nightie was wet, I got up, my bed was wet. But what on earth is this? What was beside me? The opened bottle of lemonade.
Yeah, all over you.
Yeah. But I didn't do it. At least I don't remember doing it.
What do you mean you didn't do it?
I did. I left the bottle beside me. I didn't pick it up, so I must have done it when I was sleeping.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I would lock all of your doors from the inside and then put a key somewhere safe, because otherwise you might walk into traffic.
That's what I'm thinking,
You're a secret lemonade drinker, Dee.
Yeah. And my daughter said, Mummy, did you sleepwalk? I said, it seemed like it. Although I was in my bed, so I didn't walk anywhere.
Buy handcuffs and lock yourself in to your, lock yourself to the bedstead, just in case you wander around in your sleep.
I think. I might just get in my car and drive off somewhere.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Driving while you're asleep. Kill two birds with one stone. Catch up on your Z's and get where you want to go.
Hey!
Every time I go through Streatham, somebody is driving like they're asleep or out of their minds. What is it about Streatham, by the way, Dee? People just seem to lose their minds in Streatham when they're driving. They are rendered incapable of behaving like anything other than a moron. You've noticed that, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah, Streatham. There's something in the air in Streatham, or something in the water, yeah.
I think it's the breeze.
The breeze?
Yeah, breeze.
The breeze?
Yes, breeze.
The breeze?
Not the wind.
Is Streatham known for its breeze?
Yeah, if you go on the common, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, you should have said. Yeah, never go on the common.
Warning!
Without, backup.
That's right. I agree with you there.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dee. I've got absolutely no idea what that was about. Caroline of Windsor says, will there be any billions left to pay to the EU if we stay in after Corbyn has spent it all? Well, I don't think there'll be any billions left if we are fortunate enough to have any of the parties enact their policies in full. We ain't got no money no more. I mean, we literally don't. The national debt doubled in the last 10 years. I mean, doubled. It doubled. And it gets bigger every second of every day. How are all these parties going to pay for all of these fantastical spending pledges? It's a mystery to me, because we've just gone through 10 years of austerity with the intention, I thought, of paying some of that vast sum that we owe back, and we haven't paid a penny back. It just keeps on getting bigger every day. Where's the money going to come from? Who is it that we owe all this money to? Let's have a call in Wanstead. Sophie.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I'm super. Thanks for asking.
I have a confession. Was it a full moon yesterday? Because that nice lady who just rung up has just reflected almost exactly what happened to me.
Yeah, I've got no idea whether it was a full moon or because we haven't seen the moon or the stars or the sun for what seems like an epoch.
Yes, all the pollution. There was no lemonade involved, but I literally lay on my side at 8 o'clock in the evening, and I fell asleep until 4 o'clock in the morning, which of course means I missed
terrible.
your show.
Yeah.
I woke up in exactly the same position with the radio on.
So you had a full night's sleep, but you woke up at 4. I mean, the only people that do that are people who do it at a breakfast show on the radio. I've done that, and it makes you tired all the time.
Exactly, and I missed your show most to the point.
Right.
So
Well, it is available on podcast. You can catch up on podcast for the whole show without the ads in it, or better, the best of the Nick Abbott Habit, which is available on an internet near you. Have you seen the internet, Sophie?
Disgusting.
Oh, the stuff that's on there, you wouldn't believe it.
I know, and the vile comments, it's just the pit.
The
honestly.
vile comments about what?
On any mail article.
Right. Well, when I'm in the need of amusement, I do like to cast my eyes down to the comment section on any story. It doesn't really matter what it's about. It could be, look, there's a cuddly picture of a cute puppy dog. And the message underneath would be, that's not a cute dog, that dog should kill itself. Who are these people?
I know, it's just revolting. But, I really despair for humanity.
Well, you and Neil Young both.
There was a man trying to canvass a vote for a tour today, but I gave him, not a full frontal, what do you call it? An earful about how I
frontal. Just leave it there, and we'll make up our own minds about what that is. Good grief. Well, my mind's spinning. How about yours? Coming up, a rock god picks a fight with an artist page. Did you hear about this? There was a movement a little while ago to delete Facebook. How did that go, by the way?
Fabulous.
Neil Young's deleted his Facebook artist page in response to the company's sponsorship of an annual gala dinner of the Federalist Society. Yeah, Neil Young said,
bye-bye.
He said, that's it, I'm leaving. Now, the Federalist Society is a powerful right-wing legal group in America behind the nomination of the conservative Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. You know, the guy who likes
booze
a lot. The guy with the screwed-up face who likes beer. Remember him? He was one of Ancient Orange's pick for the Supreme Court, which is part of the Republicans' policy of stuffing the courts in America with yes people, loyalists, who, when the time comes that they're all facing jail, will declare them innocent. I think that's the plan. Ain't that right, Donnie?
Everything that I've done is 100% proper. That's what I do, is I do things proper.
Yeah, and if the court decides otherwise, then he can always go to the Supreme Court because he's stuffed them with his yes men. Neil Young, this is. He also cited the false information regularly supplied to the public on Facebook with its knowledge as the reason for removing his account. I mean, this was supposed to be over by now, wasn't it? I mean, do you remember the delete Facebook movement? That went about as well as the Arab Spring. It made news for about a day, and everyone went back to taking pictures of their face and putting it on Facebook. I mean, the reason that people said they'd delete Facebook, but didn't, is this pathetic fear of missing out. That's why kids, and some grown-ups, can't go 7 seconds without checking their phones. It is literally sad. Look up the word sad in a dictionary, and it will have a picture of somebody staring at their phone. You know, every now and again, I still make the mistake of thinking that somebody is taking a picture of me. They've held their phone up at me, and I forget, of course they're not taking a picture of me. I'm not remotely interested in these people. They're only interested in taking a picture of their own face. Millions of pictures of their own face, which presumably they then go home and sort out and catalogue. What are they doing with them? Somebody said on a TV show the other day that, I mean, if you just wind back 20 years and imagine that people were doing this. Somebody would take a picture of their face and then pop it in an envelope and send it to you in the post. You'd think they'd gone nuts. That's all young people do these days. The whole world's gone crazy. That's why people didn't delete Facebook. They were up in arms and most aggrieved for many and various different reasons. And they thought, right, that's it. They've gone too far. I've said this for a long time, that the one thing the internet has the potential of achieving is taking vast companies down. Companies that seem to be untouchable. You can't get to them through legal means, and you can't get to them by spending a lot of money and advertising against them. But public wave can do just that. If something goes viral, somebody will experience something that wasn't quite right at your petrol station or the supermarket or on a social media site, and they'll say, "Right, you know what? This is wrong. They've gone too far now," and they'll put that thought on the internet, and it will catch fire, and it will sweep around the world, just like a pussycat video sweeps around the world. Some cat does something cute that ordinarily its owner would be the only one to see. And suddenly 100 million people have seen it riding around on a robot vacuum cleaner or whatever stupid thing it is. This is going to happen. People will say, right, this particular oil company has gone too far. I'm not going to use them anymore. And a billion people will read that post and think, yeah, you know what? I'm going to continue driving for another 50 yards and go to their competitor petrol station instead. It's going to happen. One company is going to be slapped in the face and they won't see it coming, and it's going to happen really quickly. A company that took years and years to create into a monster, a cash-creating machine, and it will be snuffed out like a candle by people power. But so far, not much. And this Facebook thing just wheedled out because people were concerned that they might miss something. They might miss an update from somebody they hadn't seen from school and weren't that interested in their company when they were at school. They're totally mesmerized by their social media feeds. The kids at my gym are like that. I was saying this yesterday. This cloud of malevolent stick insects blows in from the street and they alight on every piece of equipment, just gawp at their phones for half an hour and give you the massive strop if you ask them if they're going to be long. Like you just told them to go and clean your car. Oh, but Dad... I blame the parents. I mean, what are they checking for on their blooming phones? They must be seeing if their popularity has changed since the last time they looked 10 seconds ago. If you told me 20 years ago that the number one pastime for young people would be sitting alone in their rooms typing, I'd have thought you'd lost your mind. But here we are. So anyway, Neil Young said, I don't feel that a social site should be making obvious commitments to one side of politics or the other, because Facebook, I think that moon-faced creep who runs Facebook actually sat down with Donald Trump. Sat down with Donald Trump and had a chit-chat, which is not what you'd expect the liberal elite to do. Neil Young said, it further confuses readers regarding truthfulness in covering and in coverage and message that Facebook is sponsoring the right-wing legal group behind the nomination of conservative judges in America called the Federalist Society. That's not what you expect from your social media giant. You expect them to be hippies. You know, you go to one of their offices and they've got inflatable toys at work and a slide that takes you down from one floor to the other. They're not supposed to be right-wing. It doesn't sound like the kind of thing that their youthful users would expect of them either. So Neil Young is out of Facebook. And I think that would be a good way to lead your life. From this moment on, just think, what would Neil do? Dougie texts, the wealthy vote Tory, the less wealthy vote Labour, the rest go to Coldplay concerts and cry. Coldplay. They have a new album out, I believe. Anybody interested in hearing that?
No.
I bet there are. I bet millions of people are on the edge of their seat, can't wait. Marion tweets, how can we be one of the richest countries when we owe so much? Well, that is my glamorous assistant just said, I love Coldplay. Not like or admire, love, as in he pines passionately for them. That's a little bit too much information. You've shared too much. And Marion says, how can we be one of the richest countries when we owe so much? But that's an excellent question, Marion. If we as individuals get carried on as countries do, and our finances were in the same state that nations are, we'd probably be in jail right now. This whole country needs some punishment. Let's have Bloomsbury. Sophia.
Hi, Nick. I hope you are well.
Yes, I'm great.
They've actually sent me framed photos now they brought them down,
what?
of me feeding their dog with cornflakes and milk.
I heard dog, cornflakes and milk. What was the rest of it?
Framed photos. They brought down framed photos.
They brought down framed photos?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Of me feeding their dog.
Of course.
With cornflakes and milk.
That's what I thought.
And I put it next to my dog, Frisk, who's actually more cuddly, but we've got quite a combination of dogs here.
How many dogs have you got?
3 at the moment, yes.
What are they called?
Frisk, and their dog is called Bismarck, and Fletcher, and Digger. That's four dogs.
That's 4 dogs, not 3 dogs. How many
That's 4 dogs.
How many dogs have you got?
4 dogs.
4. Yes.
And then they asked me to sing, and straight away I had to sing Que Sera Sera, which means whatever will be, will be.
Yeah, that's right. Can you sing that for us now?
All right. When I was just...
Oh, no, we've run out of time on that call. I hate it when that happens. 0345 6060 973. Matt emails, I'm not sure about being carbon neutral, but Coldplay are certainly melody neutral. Well, they get a bad rep, I think. I was impressed when I saw them at Glastonbury on stage. On TV, I wasn't there in person. I wouldn't cross a field to go and see them. But I thought, you know what, they've got something about them. Not bad. Of course, it's going to be Macca next time around. Paul McCartney. And now all the ladies, na 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 na, boring. As long as I don't say anything controversial, right? Oldbury, hello Ranjit.
Good evening, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Okay, I'm glad that lady counted the amount of dogs she had.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was
You
one.
always need to know approximately how many dogs are in your house.
I've been out with a few, but never mind, that's a different story.
Well, yeah, it is. One that we don't wish to hear.
No, this thing about Jeremy Corbyn being neutral, yeah? I sometimes listen to football phonings.
Oh, yeah.
And if the person who's a presenter is neutral, or he doesn't divulge who he supports...
Really?
Then he can do a proper debate, because otherwise you'll say, hang on, it's only because you're a Liverpool fan, you're sticking up for Liverpool, or you're sticking up for Man United. So I think Corbyn has pulled quite a blinder on that one. And he's going to go and do what he thinks is right and what the people want. And this is what Cameron should have done years ago. He should have gone out, got a deal, come back, put it to the people, and seen where we were going.
Well, if he'd done that, we would have been either in or out. It would have been done and dusted 3 years ago.
Yeah, and all this austerity and all these other problems wouldn't have happened.
Well, that is a separate issue. That probably would have happened. But,
well, maybe, yeah. And then the Orange Man wouldn't have had that much influence in us. And then the other man, Putin...
Well, if we just decided to remain, then we wouldn't have to be crawling across the carpet, begging for a trade deal with the screaming Mimi.
Oh, shut up!
Hoping that he's going to be nice to us. Donald Trump is not a nice person.
Donald Trump is a very nice person.
Okay, well, I got that wrong.
No, he isn't nice. He's after the National Health Service. I mean, half of it's already privatised, because when you're providing agency workers there, They don't work for the National Health Service.
Well, half is not.
Well, not half. No, okay. Yeah. No, some of them.
A lot
some
is,
of them.
yes.
Yeah, some of them.
Well, we can't have a National Health Service without private industry, and because where do you think all the machines that go ping come from?
Yeah, but what about all the nurses that go, hello, matey, I'm coming from India and I'm working for you here to do your injection.
Maybe you should just back off the,
what I'm
impersonation.
Saying, I'm of Indian origin, so I can do it.
Okay,
what I'm saying is, Nick, you know when you use agency staff, yeah? Because I know people who...
Costs a vast amount, and they're just plugging gaps temporarily, yes. Financially,
it
makes no sense.
No, and also the agency makes a lot of money out of it.
Of course
the middlemen
they do.
make a lot of money, and corporate hospitality. If you give me this contract, you can use my villa in Spain or whatever. All of that goes on, and all that money is being fleeced away, right, to middlemen. And I would cut away all the middlemen, and the biggest middleman is going to be the Irishman.
What evidence you have of that? Your assertion is that business is essentially corrupt.
Well,
I think that's probably about right. Business is run by people, and people are corrupt. I think you'll find that's correct.
Yeah. What's corporate hospitality?
What is corporate hospitality? It's where they have a tent at Wimbledon, and people go and then not watch the tennis. That's what corporate hospitality is.
Nick, it's a bung, isn't it? It's a bung.
Yes, I suppose. Yeah, it's a bribe. Essentially,
yes, it's a bribe. So what is corruption is bribery, isn't it?
It's an attempted bribery.
Yeah. So if you're a National Health Service senior manager and I run a recruitment agency, and I'll say, Nick, how about you going to my villa in?
Yeah. Well, I'll see you at the airport.
I'll see that. And then have I got the contract?
Absolutely, Ranjit. Whatever it is you want, you'll have it in large amounts.
And that's how the world goes round.
I'll bring my own suntan lotion.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, there is a lot of bunging going on in the medical profession. I mean, when you go to your doctor and they write out a piece of information for you and it's on a pad that has got the name of a medicine at the top of it, then obviously that is evidence of corruption. I mean, they've given him a pad. Why wouldn't he do whatever they say? I mean, those pads don't come cheap, like 50, 60p. I'll do almost anything for a post-it note. Coming up, my glamorous assistant interjects and then wishes he hadn't.
Minions, did you know Sky
has just become more awesome? Oh, you mean awesome-er? I quit Facebook years ago, says Jennifer, and I don't miss it. I don't think anybody would miss it if you quit Facebook. I quit Facebook and Twitter. By which I mean I stopped reading them. I still post every now and again. Very occasional. I'm a very bad social media user. I should post way more. That's the way to get numbers. And what do numbers make? Money. But I'm just not very good at it. I forget. I decided to stop reading Facebook and Twitter years ago, and I don't miss it at all, and neither will you. This desperate need for approval from people you don't even know. God, it's pathetic. Anyway, Jennifer says, I quit Facebook years ago and I don't miss it. I loathe it. Facebook encapsulates the worst of capitalism. We also set up our router so that Facebook is blocked. Take that, Zuckerberg. I can't express how much I hate Facebook succinctly, so I will stop here, says Jennifer. Wow. Feeling very strong about that. Very strongly about that. Hey, did you see that boggle-eyed freak that runs Amazon? And I mean that in the nicest possible way. He just gave, £100 million to homeless charities in America, which is essentially him flicking the spare change that he found in the ashtray of one of his space rockets and calling it philanthropy, which is what rich people do. You and I give money to charity. They are philanthropic. It's a much bigger word because it implies that they're doing much, much more. But they're actually doing much, much less. Here's a good idea, Jeff Bezos. Why don't you pay your taxes? We pay all of the taxes that are legally applicable in every jurisdiction in which we do business, said Amazon. and Google and all of the rest of them. They all say the exact same thing, like they've got the exact same lawyer. You know how much... This came out the other day. You know how much tax Amazon is paying in America this last year? Have a wild stab. I bet my glamorous assistant wants to play this game.
Probably not enough.
Well, put a number on it in hundreds of millions. 800 million. No, the actual answer is 0. Not a penny. In fact, it's worse than that. The American government owed them money. I'm not making that up. I think it was something of the order of £100 million the government owed Amazon. What? It's incredible. So that's why he can be philanthropic, is because he doesn't pay what a reasonable person might expect the richest man in the world to pay in tax. Calm me down. Kevin texts. And all of these companies just came out of nothing, came from nowhere. 10 years ago, nobody had ever heard of them. 20 years ago, it would seem like science fiction if you just told anybody what these companies that are now the richest companies on Earth actually did. Facebook. It allows people to share pictures of what they had for dinner. And now it's worth more than Esso. People would have looked at you like you were a numpty if you'd told them that. And they're draining the money out of every country on Earth. To do what with? Buy sunglasses and spaceships. Billionaires competing as to who has the most billions. Because apparently having £1 billion isn't enough. So they've got to have 3. And 3 certainly isn't enough. Because that's an odd number. So we've got to have 10. Nice round number, 10. £10 billion. Is that enough?
No.
Of course not. Somebody else has got more. The whole world's gone completely insane. Hugh emails, I love Neil Young. Well, that's just a reasonable position to hold. Not I love Coldplay. That's like saying I love water. My favourite ice cream flavour is vanilla. My favourite colour is clear. I always thought that Coldplay were just the most dreadful drips. I thought that it was the kind of music that people bought who don't like music. Like that hefty woman who swears a lot. What's the name of that? What's her name?
Adele.
Yeah, Adele. Adele. Ugh. Every blooming song's the same. She starts out quiet and then starts screaming about halfway through for no real reason. Adele. Bought for people to put on in the background when they have a dinner party. Like the Lighthouse Family and Enya.
Boring!
But then I saw them at Glastonbury on the TV and I thought, hey, you know what? These are pretty good. I mean, they certainly give good effort. Yellow by Coldplay makes me cry. Is that you saying that?
I have memories attached.
Please. No one's interested in your memories. That wasn't a harsh thing to say, was it?
No.
Of course not. I'm just trying to help. Scott in Maidstone says, Coldplay have actually stated that they will not tour anymore till changes are made to combat climate change. This is the kind of action that Greta Thunberg is responsible for, and I'm eternally thankful. Yeah, he says...
Thank you!
Yeah, no, I thought that they weren't going to tour until they could find a way to be carbon neutral. So, yeah. Well, maybe that's a reasonable thing to think. I mean, they walk the walk and they talk the talk. Because bands don't make much money releasing albums anymore. They've got to go on tour. So if they're actually saying that we're not going to go on tour until we hurt the planet less, well, that's pretty good the position to hold then, ain't it? Unless you just hate everything about anyone that is concerned about the planet that we live on. I mean, there's a lot of people like that. Just flail their arms and go berserk when you start talking about climate change. Oh, there's no such thing as global warming. It's cold outside. Ma says, will you go and see The Irishman, and was it any good? Did you go and see The Irishman, and was it any good? What's The Irishman? What's The Irishman?
It's a new movie.
By
It's Scorsese.
Oh, right. It's a brand new film by Martin Scorsese, who this time around has made a gangster film starring Joe Pesci. As a switch. And then he had the nerve to say that all of the other films at your Cineplex are just the same old, same old. They just keep producing the same old thing over and over and over again. Like they've got a new Terminator movie out.
Affirmative.
He seems to make the same film every time. Robert De Niro is a gangster in the new Martin Scorsese film. Isn't that surprising?
No.
And this email says, I totally agree with your comments on Facebook. Think how Facebook started. Yeah, it was that moon-faced creep perving on female university students and grading them. That's right, it was a hot or not site. That's what Facebook was. Bill Maher said this the other day. He does a talk show on the TV in America, and he said, it's bizarre that the king of social media is the least sociable person on earth. I mean, he's just, and I mean this with the greatest respect, a freak. He does look like somebody who's never had a friend in his entire life. He sat at home on his own in his room rating women on campus. That's what Facebook was. He said, why don't all these feminists vote with their feet and stop using that time-wasting product? I couldn't agree more. Exactly. Stand by your principles and just get off it. Unless they're advertising with us, in which case it's an excellent way to waste 8 hours a day, because time does seem to disappear once you get on it. In it. And Josh says Neil Young is trying to be an American, but they won't let him because he smoked weed once, even though he's lived in the USA for decades. Yeah, that's going to keep Americans safe by keeping Neil Young out.
Rock and roll!
And that's it. If you like this podcast, then just subscribe to it. The next episode will get squirted up your life as though by magic on Mondays. And don't forget the podcast that I do with Carol McGiffin, who is hilarious. She is a very funny woman. And we do a podcast called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol, in which, with our tongues in each other's cheeks, we attempt to solve your problems. If you want us to have a bash at your problems, then email your issue to us, nickandcarol@global.com. That's NICKANDCAROL @global.com. And the podcast, What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol,